Making a moist and flavorful spiral ham is so easy to do in just a few hours in your slow cooker, and I'm going to show you how to do it. I have a bone-in spiral ham that's probably about 7 pounds that I'm going to cook. I have my slow cooker. I have some brown sugar in my mason jar. I have pineapple slices and heavy syrup. I want the heavy syrup for the extra sweetness. For dry seasonings, I'm using some ground mustard and some cumin. This combination is amazing on ham. You have to try it. I'm also going to slice up one yellow onion. You can use the onion of your choice. And I have some honey to add to the glaze. Also, I'm using some kale for garnish afterwards. Oranges, you can use sliced oranges in the ham and garnish with it. You could also use Coca-Cola, Dr. Pepper in your liquid for your ham, but it will cause the ham pieces to be a little darker, so I don't use that. I'm throwing away the glazing packet that comes with it. You can look at the ingredients and see it's not going to be what most people want. So I sliced up my medium onion, just half of it. To clean my canned items, I like to pour white vinegar on the lid and let it sit for a couple of minutes before I rinse it off, just to kill any stuff that might be on it or get dust off, and then I'm going to rinse it off with water. That's just a personal ick that I have about canned goods. Now that it's clean, I pop the lid open, and again, we're using heavy syrup because we want that extra sugar in this glazed dish, so there'd be less other sugar that I have to add. So I'm just going to add my sliced half of onion to the bottom, and then I'm going to add some of the pineapple liquid. And this combination of savory and sweet is going to be very delicious on the ham with our dry seasoning, so definitely give it a try if you haven't considered seasoning your ham this way before. So I am one of those weird people. I do rinse off my meat before I cook it. So taking my ham out of the packet, I'm just rinsing it under cold water. This is the time when I inspect the ham. I also make sure that it doesn't feel icky, like something might be wrong with it. I'm using that word icky a lot, but anyway, I'm putting my ham in the crock pot and I'm just making sure it fits in there snugly. And I want the fattier side of it to be on the top, so as it cooks, that fat will drip down to keep the meat moist and flavorful. So now I have a bowl and I'm just going to add in the remainder of my pineapple juice syrup. And I'm also going to add in my seasonings now. So I'm adding in some ground mustard, about a teaspoon. And then also for my cumin, I'm going to add about a teaspoon. So not a lot of seasoning. We just want a hint of the flavor. And it's going to be amazing with the pineapple syrup and the juice that releases from the onions we put in the bottom of our crock pot. I do like to take a fork and just spread a couple of pieces of the ham apart to make sure that my seasoned syrup gets in between the pieces before I cook it to help keep it moist as well. Now I'm adding my brown sugar. I'm adding about 8 to 10 tablespoons, which is equivalent to about half a cup, or you could add as much as 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. Just depends on how sweet you want it. I am using the heavy syrup in the pineapple, so I went a little light on the brown sugar, although it might not look like it. I am spreading it out across the top, and you'll notice some of the brown sugar is dripping down in between the slices, which is exactly what I want. Now notice my top won't fit on securely because of the size of the ham, and that's okay because I can use some foil to secure it. But before I do that, I want to add a few of the pieces of pineapple I had left over. Not all of it though, we're going to save some for the end, but having some inside is going to add more flavor and deliciousness, which is exactly what we want. And I did add in the rest of the onion that I had on my board. And now I'm adding foil, aluminum foil to the top so that I can keep all the steam and heat inside of my crock pot, even though the lid won't fit on securely by itself. And so now you can see the foil is more secure on top. I just set my lid there for funsies. You want to cook this on low for about 4 to 6 hours, and I do have some other pineapple slices that I'm going to use at the end for garnish. I did have to set my crock pot to 8 hours on low, and then I only cooked it for about 3.5 hours, and so I'm checking the temperature of it now. You want to make sure the internal temp, look at how good that juice looks in there too. You want to cook it to an internal temperature of at least 140 degrees. So I'm taking some of the hot liquid and I'm just basting all around and inside the ham. This will add to the moistness and the flavor, of course. And now I'm going to use my meat thermometer, and everyone should have one of these in their kitchen. I just want to measure the inside of the ham. You don't want your thermometer to go all the way down to the hot liquid, just touching the meat. And the inside only got up to 130, so that's not quite done yet. I am testing on the outer parts of the ham, and you can see it's getting closer to the 150 mark. So you don't want the outer pieces to be overcooked and the inside undercooked, but it will come up to temp after resting for a couple of minutes. So I removed it with some gloved hands very carefully so I didn't burn myself. And I set it on a platter and I flipped it over so the fatty side is on the bottom, the darker, meatier side is on top. And look at how gloriously delicious this looks. It's juicy. I'm wedging some of the pieces of washed and dried kale around the ham for garnish and a beautiful presentation. I have a couple of pieces of pineapple that I'm going to lay on top of the kale. If you don't have kale, you could use green leaf lettuce. And then I have some maraschino cherries that I'm also going to add. That's traditional to add for garnish on ham. And I'm not putting it on top of the ham, just around it is fine. But you can decorate it however you like. The main thing is to enjoy that flavor and the moisture. Now, the moistness is going to stay in because I saved some of the ham broth from the crock pot to baste it with before I serve it. And I am going to put the foil back on top of it just to keep it warm. And look at that, y'all. Please leave me a comment down below and let me know if you've ever cooked a ham, spiral or not, in your slow cooker and how it turned out for you. Thank you so much for watching this video, and please take a look at my soul food playlist to see some of my other yummy recipes to use on your holiday table.